Good morning, Singapore, and welcome to The Big Show and The Big Show TV. Our guest for today, but not every Wednesday, is Dr. Geraldine Tan from the Therapy Room. Good morning, Jerry.
Good morning. I'm on another Wednesday.
Yes. You like Wednesdays? You want to swap?
Not really.
Okay.
Therapy Tuesdays have a nicer ring to it.
That is true. That is true.
It's very true.
And how long now have we had this relationship with you?
I don't know.
4 years.
5+ years.
Five?
Oh
Close
dear,
to 5.
since 91.3, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, I've seen you grow, and boy, have you grown
Grow fatter.
into a beautiful flower.
You
Anyway.
blossomed from a bud into a beautiful rose.
You have.
Oh, yo.
Yeah, when we first met you, you were this high. Yeah, you know, and now you're this tall.
This high.
Yeah. Okay, so today we are going to discuss forgiving.
Well, the psychology of forgiveness, yeah.
Forgive and forget.
Yes, forgive and forget, because I think this forgiveness, we're approaching Christmas, and just in the spirit of Christmas, right? People always say, "Oh, forgive, forget," and I thought maybe let's go with it, because many people find it very difficult to forgive, and they assume that they have to forget, I suppose. So let's talk about it. It is a very difficult topic. It is not an easy topic to talk about at all.
You're inspired by the child who's going to be born, is it? A ray of hope flickers in the sky.
He was just waiting to do that.
When a
Oh, my
child
goodness.
is born.
Here we go. Okay.
Oh no.
Yes.
Actually, it was a client that when in session, and he listens to all your podcasts and everything, and he says, "Okay, I think this is a topic that we can pick up on," and we were having a dialogue about it in session. So it's very nice when people come up with their own challenges and then bring it and say, "Okay, this is something that I think more people can benefit from."
So, Jerry, this whole idea of forgive and
Yes.
forget, I have always
Yep.
had an issue with this.
Yeah.
Because forgiving is difficult. Forgetting is even
Yeah.
harder for me. And I don't see how you can truly forgive if you do not forget.
Hypnotherapy, right, Jerry?
No, the body never forgets, remember? It's still stuck inside your body. Yeah, but forgiveness, right? Different definitions and similar. So Dr. Robert Enright says, it's a voluntary transformation of your feelings, attitude, and behavior. So feelings, attitude, and behavior, so that you're no longer dominated by resentment, and can express compassion, generosity to the person that has done you wrong.
Wow.
So there's a lot of so it's very heavy. It's very loaded. This word forgiveness. It's not as simple as I cut ties, or I'll cut the ribbon. No. It's not as simple as that. It has a lot of dimensions to that one word, forgiveness. So imagine you have to voluntarily transform feelings, attitude, and behavior. Oh my goodness. So
That's
there's
a lot to do.
already there's a whole lot of process going on, and forgiveness, I think, for us to know, is a process. It is not a one-time, I forgive you, I shake hands, and that's what we do with the little kids, right?
Yeah.
On the spot, say sorry to each other now, shake hands and make up. And in that split second, they're like staring at each other and they have to say sorry. But we've forgotten that forgiveness is actually a process and not a second.
Can I just say this? I might not look like the forgiving kind of person, but I think I am, And that, I feel, Jerry, is my weakness.
You forgive too easily.
I forgive too easily, especially if you cry in front of me. Straight away, you're forgiven.
Ooh.
That is the problem.
Now we know. We just do something wrong and then we cry, and
Yes.
in
That's
the
it.
end we'll forgive
Everything's
us.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's annoying because everybody, and I say it's annoying because the act of forgiveness is really so difficult. But everybody keeps saying, "Oh, please forgive. Learn how to forgive. Be, forgiving." So you get bombarded with that, right? And I know the benefits. So if we look at that whole body and the explanation of it, why we need to forgive, it releases. It's supposed to release stress. It's
Yeah.
supposed to create all the changes in the brain where there's no longer a threat, or you feel you're less stressed, less painful. So a lot of people describe, I cannot forgive and I'm in pain. So it's a physical pain also.
But is that
So-
because they can't forgive, or is it because they can't forget?
So let's start with just forgiving first, because
Okay.
forgetting, like what FD says, is very difficult. But we need
Yes.
to understand, what this huge thing, forgiveness, is all about.
Okay.
Yeah, so it is a stress, right? If you cannot forgive, it is a stress on your body. But what kind of stress is it, right? Yeah, actually, what kind of stress is it? What do you think we cannot forgive? So I think all of us experience it. There are times that we hold it in our body and we cannot forgive.
Oh, there's so many things one can't forgive, I think.
Betrayal,
Yeah. Betrayal is...
disloyalty.
Yes. These are the things I think most men will tell you. Betrayal, loyalty.
No, I'm
even
sure-
ladies.
Yeah,
even
I'm sure
ladies.
it's for the ladies as well.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
a
Being
major-
betrayed by your friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your friends
Yeah.
whom we thought were loyal turned out to be disloyal.
Yeah.
Okay, so go into, and for all the listeners, right, go into the emotions that betrayal brings. And when someone is not loyal, or, so if you cannot forgive and you think of the scenario that you cannot forgive, what is the emotion that is very, very intense or present?
Disappointment.
Yeah.
Disappointment.
Heartbreak.
So you're hurt.
You're hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a very basic hurt, which is why it is so strong. It's hurt to the core.
It's like you're the last person or the
Yes.
last people, I would expect to stab me in my back.
Yes, exactly that.
So if you are hurt in that way, how come? So it's a very strange thing, right? How come you're not permitting yourself to heal?
Because we don't know how.
So one is you don't know how,
I'm sure you do know.
No.
So
I've been
if
hurt by
then
people
you
and I
know-
don't know how to heal.
Yep. You're saying, Jerry, you're asking me a question?
Yeah. So
Before he rudely
Glenn,
interrupted
Sorry.
you.
So if you say you can heal from it,
Okay.
and you know how to, what is it?
Having makeup sex.
Yes, we were looking at what is the underlying emotion that fuels the unforgiveness. We gave scenarios like betrayal, like, when someone is not loyal, so you feel anger. Oh no, I put in the word anger now, the emotion anger. There's disappointment, there's hurt. So many times when we have all these emotions, right? Some people believe that they need to hold on to these emotions to remind them of the situation so that they can learn from it. So they don't want to be hurt again, for example.
Yeah.
They don't want to be betrayed again, right? So they hold on to it with that thought that I don't want the pattern to repeat, or I don't want history to repeat itself. But it is very dangerous because you freeze yourself in that time. You no longer move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
you're
that's
frozen.
not very healthy, right?
If you're frozen in time, I mean, time will still move. But if you freeze yourself in that moment, you grow, the other person will grow, or the other situation will grow. And when you come back together again, you're still stuck in that time period, but the other person has moved on already. So whatever that you've held on to then means nothing, which is a double hurt. Many people experience that, right? And the other one is that people hold on to the situation or the emotion because they want to take revenge. It's very vengeful. So the very vengeful unforgiveness, right? So as long as I remember it and I hold on to it, at some point, I'll take revenge. So, I mean, there's a Chinese saying that, if someone wants to take revenge, even if it's 10 years, it's not too late. So they actually have a idiom for it.
So, Jerry,
Yeah.
people who hold on to this hurt
Yeah.
inevitably take revenge?
No, so they
No.
don't. They don't. Not all of them, but this is one of the reasons why they want to hold on to the emotion or the situation. The other one is quite interesting, where people believe that if I hold on to the emotion or if I hold on and not forgive, I have the upper hand. So I can wave it in front of you at any point in time. Remember, you did this to me? So you
right.
wave it in front of the other person. Yeah, so that assumption that, you have, if you hold on to it, you have the upper hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Forgive and forget. Were you inspired also because maybe, in church, the priest was talking about it and, in his sermon or something?
Well, it is the start of Advent.
Yes.
Yeah, and it is one of the areas that we are reminded.
Actually, I think, we're reminded throughout the year,
Yeah.
in church
Yes.
Yeah.
to
Yes.
to forgive.
Yeah.
But, very
Yes.
seldom, does the priest mention forget. It's all about forgiving. Right?
Yeah.
And I don't know what you feel, FD, but I happen to feel that forgiving is much easier than forgetting.
Yes, it is. And that my point to that is then if forgetting is much more difficult, do we ever really forgive?
But you see,
Or-
if it's at the back of your mind, right? But you just can't help it. It's just there, and you're not acting on it. Of course you can't forget, right? What someone has done, to you.
Yeah, so therefore you haven't
that
forgiven
hurt
them.
you.
You haven't forgiven them.
No, that's not true. You can forgive the person, right, Jerry? I mean, it's still
Yeah.
forgiving the person,
Yeah.
but it's at the back of your mind that this person did this to you.
Yeah.
So it
So
doesn't mean
therefore-
that the person hasn't forgiven you.
That's okay. So in the back of my mind, this person's done this to me. In the back of my mind, I'm always going to be guarded where
No,
this person
and that's
is.
that. If you're guarded, then you have not forgiven.
But
But
that-
what I mean is, you don't be guarded.
Wow, that's
Because
hard, man. I
man.
find that hard.
No, that's easy for me.
I find that very, very hard to
No.
do. If I keep that thought
Oh, you
in
think
my
I got
head,
married so many times?
okay,
Okay, maybe
that
not.
sort of ended that argument.
Yeah. But no, I mean, if you forgive a person, and I have forgiven people before, of course, I will always remember what they've done to me. But I don't. I don't necessarily hang out with them all the time.
Yeah.
But if I do hang out with them, I don't hold anything against them.
Oh, that's quite something. Well, that's big. To me, that's really big.
Yeah, but the thing is, you see, Glenn hasn't forgotten.
Yeah.
So anything that occurs to you, unless you have a traumatic brain injury, unless you have amnesia, unless there is something that happens to you, you actually don't forget. So that's why I wanted to draw the distinction. So the forgiveness is the emotions that we're letting go, or and a behavior that we are letting go. But we're not forgetting the lessons that we have learned. I think that's very important because I don't know where forgive and forget comes from. And it's a very dangerous thing when we pair it up together. And I don't think we need to forget, the lesson that we have learned. So when you say you're not guarded against the other person, I would not say that not guarded, but we have learned how to manage this person or manage this situation differently because we have learned.
Have we really learned that, Jerry? Have we really learned to manage the situation, or in many cases, are we just saying, "I'm going to be really careful around this guy"?
So then,
and once you say that, I'm going to be really careful around this guy. I know what this guy is capable of. You've not forgiven him.
I disagree with you. I'm with Jerry. Really, the pairing forgive and forget is just, it's a lousy pairing.
Yeah. So if you are extremely tense, if you are on guard, if it affects how you behave and you behave unnaturally, then perhaps you haven't forgiven that person. Yeah, but you can be cautious. So you can be cautious around fire. You can be cautious, when you cross the road. There is still the unforgiveness. There's this element of threat. You feel threatened by the situation. You feel threatened by the person. So you would want to put distance to it. But when Glenn says, I will just come to the person, he has decreased the distance between himself and the person that needs to be, or the situation that needs to be forgiven. Yeah. And that one other area that I actually want to highlight is then what he's saying is he doesn't give the person or situation power anymore. Because if you're holding on to unforgiveness, actually the other person wields a lot of power. You think you have a lot of power? No, because this person has taken up so much brain space and so much emotional space. This person actually is holding on to a lot of power. Yep. And that's when, forgiving then is a kind deed for yourself because you give permission to erase all that unwanted data and do a clean up and a reset and allow other things into your life.
Yeah, there's no point holding on to these things, I mean, I don't know, like over the years, maybe you've come across, some people who have done you wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about it. Like, how many of them have you actually forgiven? Right? Because if you're still holding on to that, right, like what Jerry said, right, then, somehow you're taking something away from yourself, no?
Which is interesting. Because to me, there are a couple of people that I have not forgiven for what they've done.
You can remember what they have done.
Yeah, but I've not forgiven them for it. I've not forgiven them for it.
So they still hold over you, which means that they still have power over you. Which is
no matter how you've cut them off. So you've cut them off,
I've
right?
cut them off, yeah.
Is that a solution, Jerry?
So that is putting a lot of distance between yourself and the situation or the person. Yeah. But the thing is, when they come into your presence, you still go back into combat mode.
Yes.
So your body is still it still recognizes that this people are a threat or this situation is still a threat.
So, how many of them?
Yeah. They're not many.
What are their names?
Stop it. Like I'm going to tell you.
Establish something that I am quite close to Jesus and FD is not.
No, I disagree. I disagree.
Okay.
But, Jerry, there's some very interesting comments coming through on our Facebook page. And one comes from Debster.
Morning,
Okay.
Debster.
Good morning. Forgive yourself first. If you're angry, the person doesn't
Yes.
care. I was taught to constantly say, forgive, forgive, forgive. It's to heal yourself. It's not easy, but it works to a certain extent. And then see a therapist, of course. If someone injures me, if someone does something wrong to me, why
Yeah.
am I forgiving myself? Forgiving myself for
Very
what?
profound. So, which is why it is so such a difficult topic. So we thought the word forgive and forget is such an easy phrase that we've grown up with, but the concept of it is actually very difficult. Let's go with the overarching forgiveness, not the self-forgiveness, because self-forgiveness is another big, topic by itself
Right.
altogether.
Okay.
But what the Debster just asked is very important, because what leads us to self-forgiveness, right? And why is it important? So the 4 stages of not 4 stages, the 4 A's of forgiveness. One is we want to agree or admit to the facts, because there are things that happen. And I want to highlight this. In any situation, you have done good and you have done bad. And most of the time when you say, I cannot forgive you, remember, you are also shouting. So you have also done something. Okay, so shouting is just one of the actions. It can be anything. That means you're partisan in whatever the situation is. So let's look at the facts of the situation. The good and the bad that you have done. Interesting. Not what the other person has done, but you have done. And then we want to, the next A, acknowledge its impact. So I need to feel, and it's okay to feel. I feel anger, I feel hurt, I feel shame. Now, shame is often not spoken about in this whole mess of forgive and forget. But there's part of it that is a little bit shameful, not only with the other person, but how can I allow myself to be in this situation? How come I got myself into this situation? There's a little bit of shame here. Okay? And then I apologize for the situation. Not to the person, yeah? So very, very different. I apologize for the situation. That's the next A. So I'm really sorry that it happened. It's a very simple phrase that I tend to use. I'm really sorry that it happened. Right? And the last one is an act to correct it. Now, our assumption is always the other person must apologize. You're giving away power again. Because if the other person doesn't recognize it as an issue, and you make the other person apologize for it, it will come out as very insincere. It will come out as very dismissive, or they would put you down, and their apology is not an apology. You have no control over how they deliver their apology. If it's a sincere apology, great, but many times they may not feel that it is an issue with them,
Right.
and therefore you do not obtain the apology that you're seeking out. So it's your expectation again. So agree to the facts, acknowledge the impact, apologize for the situation, and act to correct it. So these 4, if we were to sit, and most of the time when in the heat of the moment, we can't do that. But when we sit and we reflect, these are some guides that we can use for ourselves. A very simple example, and I love to give this example because I deal with children with autism, right? And they're very sensorial. So maybe I've given this, example before, but I'll repeat myself. Okay, so the example, right, is this young boy, and I'm a very touchy-feely person, so I would hug or I would pat. But our children on the spectrum, they may be very sensitive to different senses, especially tactile. So they might not like it. Now, me being me, I was having an event, very excited, and I go, "Hi, sweetheart," and I gave this tiny little boy a squeeze. The next thing he did was to scratch me.
like a little cat.
Yes! And I jumped up, right? And I went, so when FD talk about someone hurting you, so that's a literal sense, okay?
Yeah.
Someone hurting you. And then I had to compose myself and really go through the stages. What just happened? He scratched me. But what just happened? I touched him. I was partisan in that situation. So I touched him. How did I feel? Shocked, embarrassed. Oh my God, there's so many people watching, I feel a bit embarrassed. I feel a bit shameful because I, of all people, should know that this little boy may not like touch. Actually, I did know that he didn't like touch. So I had to apologize to myself for forgetting. Oh dear, I forget. Or I've forgotten at that point in time. And it's okay, but I've forgotten. So it is in part my fault, but he did really, hurt me. And I had to then address it. I mean, he can't apologize to me, right? He can't apologize for his non-verbal, so he can't apologize for hurting me. But I articulated the words, "I'm sorry that I forgot you don't like touch. So I'm sorry it happened, right? So I apologized for it, right? And that was an act that I did to articulate it. And the whole situation calmed down. There was no... But did I forget about it? To this day, it happened a few years ago. To this day, I still remember this incident. Yeah, but I've nothing against the little boy, and I pray he has nothing against me and he's not frightened.
This is a great example. This is a great example that you've just given. Because, so what do you think, FD? That's a very good example.
I think it's a great example in that for the people you chose, yourself and a child with autism.
Yeah.
And you forgot something. But if that were to happen between me and a friend of mine, and someone who didn't have autism,
right?
And I'm suddenly, I don't know, this is me. I'm suddenly turning all this in on me.
Okay. Yes.
I'm suddenly turning it's all in on me. So I did this. I did this. I did this. At what point do I acknowledge you were the idiot who did that?
Yeah, but I mean, you know the person really well. Haven't you taken into consideration the reasons why he actually did that?
Yes, I have.
And you still can't.
And I can't justify them.
Okay.
I can't justify them.
So I
Is it
gave
a pride thing as well?
Example.
No, it wasn't a pride
thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. But yes, the self comes into it. So I gave a different example because I wanted to illustrate the 4 different points. But I know many people, would resonate with what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most of the time, when we find it difficult to forgive, we have already called the person an idiot. We have already put the person down.
Yep.
So we have already done the externalizing. What I'm appealing for us is to pause and ask ourselves, what parts can we play? That's why the self-forgiveness is very, very difficult. It's easy to articulate as a concept.
Yeah.
So when Webster mentioned it, right, it's easy to articulate as a concept, like, oh, you must forgive yourself, it's okay. But what is it that I need to forgive when it's somebody else's fault?
Yeah.
So when we pause, then we allow ourselves to recognize the role that we play, because it is not all the other person. If we want to ensure that the pattern doesn't recur again, we need to then see what we can learn, because that's the part that we have most control. But that's the part that is most difficult to acknowledge and to see. But we've already called the person an idiot, dumb, all the names that we can think about. And I suppose as I was reflecting on this topic, and this is where, I want to put it out there that I thank my team, because we went through really, really difficult couple of years where 1 year I was just steeped in unforgiveness and misery, and the team had to be the one to be externally reminding me to put it down. And it took an entire year. That's why I say forgiveness is a process. Yeah. So, and it's this little exercise. I know we are almost, out of time, but a little exercise that I would like us to do is a person you would want to forgive, because this person has taken up too much mental space. Okay. And so it's different. A person you want to forgive, from you to the person. Now, and then I want you to ask yourself, is there a person I want forgiveness from? I want the person to forgive me.
Okay.
So there are two. So, Glenn, are you thinking? But,
No, I
but you're
think this
saying
is.
that, I'm okay.
Yeah, this has been an amazing year, 2024.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to come out of this year stronger than ever, because I've learned all that. You know what I mean, and the importance of forgiveness, and which is why when we started out this morning, I said, of course, you remember things, but you can forgive, and the moment you're able to forgive, right? Wow, it's like
It's a burden off your shoulders.
Yeah, it's like a load off your chest even. You know what I mean? Because if not, you're just preoccupied. You're just thinking about it all the time. At every moment. But once you can actually just let
it
go of it.
Yeah.
You feel so much better. So much better. Just go like I forgive this person for he or she did not know what they were doing. That's it.
Nice
But you
choice of
don't
words.
forget. You don't need
You don't forget.
to forget. Yeah, you don't need to forget. So this is something that I want to allow and give permission. So we give permission to ourselves. Yeah, so I'm guessing that forgive and forget was some author or some wise person that said it, and then it just took a life of its own. It suddenly became the gospel truth, which it is not.
Yeah, so messed up, right? Forgive and forget. It's like, how do I do that? Forgive them, for they know not what they do. We're talking about forgive and forget, and we were just talking about this on the Big Show TV early on. It's so messed up. The person who came up with, you gotta forgive and forget.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Somebody will find out the context of it, but until then, let's decouple. Let's decouple. Let's break them up. Let's do a little relationship breakup here. That forgiveness is forgiveness, and you don't need to forget. Yeah, and just a reminder of the 4 different A's to help us a little bit. Agree to the facts, acknowledge the feelings, apologize for the situation, and act to correct it. And a little challenge. So I was actually going to put, the DJs on the spot, but today I'm not going to do it because I realize it's so difficult. So the little challenge for all of us is, who is one person that you would want to forgive? And who is one person that you would hope forgiveness from? And we all have that one person that we want to forgive and we want forgiveness from. They can be the same person, but it usually is a different person.
No, I think right now, top of mind, right? Two people I want to forgive and these two people I have forgiven.
Well, good for you. Good for you. I've got to say that I find it very hard. Very
Yes.
hard. For me to forgive people, it takes a long, long time.
I reckon you have many people that you want to forgive, but can't.
But I can't.
I mean,
But
over
I
the
can't.
years.
Yeah.
Over the years.
But I can't. It's very true.
Why
And
can't you? Jerry, I think you need to see him.
Because
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
it's because I find it's difficult because I grew up with the forgive and forget. It
Oh.
was drummed into my head, right? And
Yep.
I find it very hard to forgive someone and yet remember what happened.
Oh, then,
Every time I remember what happened, it's like a cut that has a scab.
yeah.
Every time I remember what
Yeah.
happened, I peel that scab off and the cut starts
Yeah.
to bleed again.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's horrible, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a weight.
So in
You're right. It
therapy-
is a weight.
Yeah.
It is a
In
weight.
therapy, what happens is you don't need to forget. It's not, a necessity, and you shouldn't forget. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you haven't picked out the learning points. But
Yeah.
when you peel out the scab, what we do is to help it to heal better, to heal more effectively. And it doesn't kind of fester. It doesn't kind of have pus and start to feel even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we do in therapy.
Yeah.
But it must
Yeah.
be quite stressful for FD, right? I mean, if he really does acknowledge the fact that he has, a number of people whom he would love to forgive, but he can't seem to forget, what they've done.
I'm going to
perhaps.
suspect,
But-
and FD, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because FD is a person that allows only certain people into his space.
Yep.
So by the time he has filtered these people, he's done a really detailed sort of filter already, then they can enter into his close circle. And if within this close circle, they hurt him, the cut is very, very deep.
Very deep.
So the cut is not a superficial one, like if we just have acquaintances and somebody calls you nonsense, on a train. You can forgive the person quite easily. You won't forget. But if somebody pointed at you on the train and say you idiot, it's somebody that is not within your close realm or intimate circle. So the cut isn't as it's just a grace. It's not a cut.
Yeah.
But for FD, it takes so long because this person really was very close,
Yeah.
or these people are very close, and the cut is probably a knife through the heart sort
Close
of
enough.
feeling.
Yeah, close enough.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, close enough.
Wow. Okay.
Close
Okay.
enough.
Well, I
little
hope
bit.
that,
Interesting. No,
But if you could-
today's been
but
a
if-
bit of an
but if you
eye-opener, I've
could-
got to say.
If you could, forget about it, would you feel better?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, but human
I think
beings,
so.
our brains cannot forget.
Yeah.
And even so, a lot of people assume that, hypnotherapy, I won't be able to remember everything. Not really. Body actually still remembers. Yeah. So
What about
that's why
dementia?
we do
Dementia?
generational work.
Yeah, that may help.
Yeah.
Alzheimer's?
Stop it. Jerry did a little bit of research on forgive and forget. There's a big debate
Yes.
as to where it came from.
Oh,
One team, one side of the argument says the Bible. The other side says Don Quixote.
Oh, Don
So
Donkey.
literature and the Bible
Wow. Interesting.
arguing points as to where it originated.
I don't know, so I'm not going to say.
Yeah, I don't know either. This is just what I'm seeing.
We'll have to
here.
get off the show and then do our research.
Yeah.
Hey, by next week, let's do it, Jerry. Let's just find out where the phrase "forgive and forget" came from,
Yeah.
and then next week on the show,
Try
we
and do
can
it, yeah.
we can reveal it.
Yeah.
We can
Okay.
clarify it.
Yeah.
How about
Be
that?
quite interesting.
Sure.
Okay, Jerry, time for your quote.
Yes, so I'm going to go with a very common one also, something that I think, my time I've grown up with, but I think it's a nice quote to remember. To err is human, to forgive divine, by Alexander Pope.
Very true.
You hear that?
I
FD?
hear it. I've heard it before. Mama used to
know.
use that on me all the time.
Same. So I thought, forgive and forget is something we grew up with. To err is human, and to forgive is divine is another phrase that we've grown up
Yes.
with.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so reminiscing, but let's start December, to try and see if we can forgive.
Okay. All right. So we'll see you
I'll
tomorrow
see you. Yes, tomorrow.
Yeah.
on that hot date of ours.
Oh, not. I hope it's a hot day tomorrow so that it's the floor is not wet. Yes, but for those listeners, please come to Christmas at the Stables. We'll be there from 1 o'clock to 3 to 4 o'clock, and then Christmas at the Stables occurs from the 5th to the 8th of December.
That's right.
Awesome.
For sure, after we visit the stables, we'll come back and talk about it on
We
Friday
will.
morning.
We will.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jerry. We'll see you tomorrow, okay?
I'll see you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks a lot.